Right, now I'm going to show you how to cover your dummy cake. And a dummy cake is a polystyrene round. You can get these from any of the baking shops, and you can get them in all the different sizes. This is a 25 centimeter that I'm going to cover. And I'm going to be decorating it with sequins, but not sequins, a separate sequin. I'm going to use the Marvelous Mold sequin mold. It's an amazing little mat, and you're going to see the beautiful texture it's going to give once it's on the cake. So today we're going to use some icing from Sugar & Craft, the premium RTR, which is already softened and kneaded. I've got some here mixed with the Blossoms modeling paste. I've got a little bit of CMC and my cake smoothers and my rolling pins and my mold from Marvelous Molds, which is going to give a nice sequins effect. Okay, to measure the size of your icing for your cake, take a tape measure and you measure from the one side of your cake all the way across to the other side. And you can see there it reaches 17 inches or 44 centimeters. So that's how wide your icing needs to be all the way around in order to cover your cake. Because this is going onto a dummy cake, I'm going to make this slightly thicker than I would for my standard cakes. And the reason for that being is because sometimes the polystyrene can show through the icing if it's a little bit thin. The nice thing with this sugar paste is you can stretch it slightly as well, and it won't rip. We're looking for 17 inches, and I think we've got that. There we go. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dummy cake and I'm going to spray it with a little bit of water away from the sugar paste, just all the way around and on the top. Don't saturate it, and then pop that onto your turntable. Make sure you've got your cake smoothers ready, and you need a pizza cutter to trim around the edges. Remember how I showed you when you covered the cake board, you pick it up, you put it over, and you flip it onto your other arm and pick it up and put it over your cake. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to smooth that on now and just stretch it slightly so it reaches the bottom. And now I'm with the back of my hand, I'm just pushing it down. If it creases like that, just open it up a little bit. And then with your cake smoother, you want to go all the way around to lock that down at the bottom. Then your pizza cutter goes close to the cake as you can and just trim off all that excess. This looks quite thick, but remember this is going on a polystyrene round and not a standard normal cake. So I'm going to bring the cake now in front of me, and I'm putting a non-slip mat on my board, and then I'm going to put my turntable onto that, and with my cake smoothers I'm going to start smoothing my cake down. And this is when I swap over to these, which are little pieces of acetate cut out into shapes, nice smooth round edges so it doesn't damage your cake, and this is how you get your nice sharp edges. Just putting a little bit of corn flour on there just to stop it sticking. Because this is going to have the sequin layer over it, I'm not going to worry too much about the side. But you've got nice sharp edges on this. There you go. And that's your dummy covered. I'm just going to trim off the excess around the bottom again. Once you've covered your cake, you take it up with a cake lifter, just lift it up, ease it over, pick it up, and then put it onto an upturned plate. And the reason for this is that once it's on the upturned plate, you can still work with your cake smoother and smooth down those little edges that are flipped up. And once this is set for a little bit, you can trim off that excess and you've got a nice even edge around the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my dummy cake covered, and I'm going to be using the Sequined Onlay mat from Marvelous Molds, and I'm going to show you how to work with that. I've got my premium RTR here. I've added a little bit of the Blossoms gum paste into it, and I'm going to add a little bit of CMC just to stiffen it a little bit. So what you're going to need today is a paintbrush, a nylon rolling pin, and you're going to need some piping gel, which I've got in a tub here, which I keep in the fridge. Your corn flour, which is the bags, just about a tablespoon of corn flour in, just with an elastic band around the top, just to hold it together. Just pat some of that in, shake out the excess, and you want to roll your icing. And you just want to get it to the shape of the mat. More corn flour on it so it doesn't stick. Place it over your mat. And a bit more. Now I'm just going to roll that in. And you can see as I'm rolling it, it's actually cutting the sides. You can see the sides that are being cut here. Just with your finger you can go over that, pull off the excess. Ready to come out. Roll it back gently, and there's your sequins for your cake. So I'm going to just apply a little bit of piping gel to the back of that. You could also use your water pen if you want, but I find that this also works nicely for the bigger pieces. Gently lift it up, place it onto the side of the cake. There we go. And just gently pat it down. And I'm going to do that now for the rest of the cake. Right, now I'm going to do the last panel. I'm just rolling out again. Lay it over. Turn it over and then just push hard so you get all the nice impressions through. Gently lift it off, just so that it fits in all the grooves. I'm just having to stretch this last one just ever so slightly just to fit. Because this has got a rough edge around the top, I'm just going to pipe a long tube from my extruder just to finish off this edging. I'm going to use this little attachment. It's got a small little circle in the center, and this is going to give me the required diameter for the pipe that's going to go around it. Going around the whole cake, putting the line of water, and onto this I'm going to pipe the tube. Right, I'm going to paint my cake now with some gold paint, and the gold paint is just a dust, and if you add a little bit of quick dry essence to it or white alcohol, it becomes this beautiful liquid gold. I'm just going to stir that in a bit. There we go. Now remember, because this isn't an edible cake, it's fine to be painting it gold. Right, so now I'm just going to start and paint it. I'm just going to come around the side now. Now you need to work your brush into all those grooves. now I'm going to put my cake together and decorate it and show you how beautiful this little white cake can become stunning. So I've got my cake board already covered. I've got my 2-tier cake covered in white sugar paste. I've got my gold sequin cake, which you saw me demo just now, and I've got my gold ribbons to decorate. This is the sparkly gold ribbons that you can buy from any of the material shops, and you can cut it to size. It's a really handy thing to have around your cakes, very, very pretty. And also I've got a little bit of melted chocolate, and I always use chocolate to stick my cakes together, because once you put that cake onto the chocolate, your cake is going to be stuck firm. So next to me, I've got a little melting pot here. I'm going to add just a little bit of chocolate to the center, smooth it around, and then I'm going to add my gold tier. Try and make sure that you put it in the center. The cake board's nice and dry. Got my palette knife, and I'm just going to ease that on and just make sure that my cake is nicely centered. Okay, now that the cake is on the cake board, I'm going to add my other 2 tiers. And if this was a standard normal sponge cake, you would need to dial your cakes, but I'm going to do that in another lesson. But because this is a fake tier and it's a polystyrene, you don't need to dial it. I'm just going to add a little bit of chocolate to the center. Carefully pick up my cake. Bring it over. Make sure it's in the center. And I'm going to take my gold ribbon. I'm going to carefully put that around the bottom and bring it round to the back and just secure it with a little pin at the back. So the top tier is going to be decorated with this thin gold ribbon. I've already measured it out. I've got the center point of the ribbon. I've secured it with a pin, and I'm going to place that into the back of the cake. So I'm going to wrap around the ribbon. I'm going to go around the front, and then I'm going to cross it over, bring it around, cross it over, and cross it over again, and then secure it at the back with a little pin. The topper you want to place in the center. The last item I'm going to put on is a little flower crown, and that just goes onto your cake. Just place it on the cake like that. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and please hit the notification bell and you'll receive my upcoming notifications on my next tutorials. Till next time, goodbye. And if you want to know how big a piece you need to roll your cake, start again, okay. You don't roll cakes.